click, clank, clink, clonk.
Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Behind me is my brand new 2024 BMW R1300GS and I've just gotten it home from the dealer. So today in episode 1 of the long-term review series that I'm just now starting on this exciting new BMW adventure motorcycle, we're going to be covering a few different topics. Today you'll come along for the ride with me. We'll take delivery of the bike at the dealer. We'll look at some of the interesting new features. We'll talk about why I purchased the bike. We're going to look at some of the options I got and why I got them. I'm going to show you the pricing for this particular model and talk a little bit more about that. We'll also talk about the plans I have for this long-term series, kind of give you an idea of what to expect in the upcoming episodes. We're also going to put the bike on my scale. So we're going to go outside here and weigh the bike because there's some questions about whether this bike is really lighter by as much as BMW says compared to the outgoing 1250. There's a lot riding on this new GS for BMW. And this new generation represents about a 10-year leap in technology and engineering and development. So if it's not a lot better than the outgoing model, then we're going to have an issue, right? So I think this review series is going to be really, really great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really happy to be able to do this. So why don't you follow along with me and let's get started with episode 1. Sweetie, you tell us what you think about the new 1300 GS. What do you think about Daddy's new motorcycle? What did you say earlier? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Is it a big motorcycle or a small motorcycle?
Big.
Big. Okay. What do you think of the headlight? It's ugly or is it good?
It's good.
It's good. Oh my gosh, really? You like it? You like the headlight?
Ugly, ugly. Click, clank, clink, clonk.
Whoa, so it is ugly. You've spoken. Good morning. It is 8 a.m. It is March 1st, 2024, and today is new bike day. So it's always amazing to go to the dealer and pick up your brand new motorcycle. And even though I buy these bikes and test these bikes for a living now, it's still as exciting as it ever was before. So I'm headed to get my 2024 BMW R1300GS. So follow along with me today. We'll show you kind of the delivery process. We'll show a little bit about pricing, and then we'll come back here, get the bike off the trailer, and we'll start to really test and ride this thing. I'm super, super excited. We also need to talk about the pricing a little bit because the GS has gotten rather expensive these days, and that's definitely something we need to cover in this series pretty extensively, I think. So you can see behind me here we've got the Jeep and the trailer. Here, let me flip this around. So I used to have pickup trucks, but now I kind of like having a Jeep Wrangler. And here's my bike trailer. It's a Big Tex 35 SV. It's 10 feet long. It's about, I guess, 6.5 feet wide. And I have two Harbor Freight wheel chocks here in the front. And then I use really nice motorcycle straps. Don't cheap out on straps. So these are high roller tie downs. They're very, very nice. And they have, not turnbuckles, what do you call them? You know, closed loops on each end. Carabiners, yeah. So always strap things down well. It's a little bit cold this morning. Let's get in the Jeep and head over to BMW of Riverside. Now, one thing that I think comes up as I get in the Jeep here, one question that you might have is, why am I buying the 1300 GS? There's a couple reasons. One is for content, right? Big Rock Moto is a business. I review motorcycles. I buy motorcycles for review. But also, I want this bike. Like, this is a rare occasion. Well, not too rare, but this is an occasion where a motorcycle that I really want to own and ride as a motorcyclist kind of intersects with a bike that I think will be really good for content creation. Plus, I just find that a bike like the new GS deserves an in-depth, long-term, incredibly thorough, detailed, deep dive kind of review because it's expensive. It's kind of this halo bike. It's kind of the legend. It's the standard that all adventure bikes tend to get measured against. And if the 1300 is not a lot better than the outgoing bike, then there's a problem, right? So we need to test that. We also need to talk about how it compares to the competition, because the competition has gotten a lot better as well. And the price is starting to look really, really up there. There's some controversial aspects to the new design, especially the headlight. There's some other things. Also, is it actually lighter? You know, some people have weighed it and suggested that it's really not nearly as much lighter as BMW is claiming. So that gives me some concern. We're going to put it on my scale and try to figure this out compared to the 1250 GS. So anyway, let's go along for the ride. Let's get to Riverside and go purchase this bike. And by then my bank account will be completely gone and I'll be bankrupt and on the street. But you know, you'll still have a GS to look at on the channel here. So it's March 1st, 2024. Why am I just getting the 1300 GS now? So I know the bike has been out in Europe and other countries for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. So it is a bit frustrating that we're now just getting the 1300 GS. There's reasons that North America gets it later, but yeah, I'm not first to this bike, that's for sure. But that also brings me to, oh, and I was going to say, we really just got, they just got to dealers here in the USA last week. So I'm getting one of the first ones. All right, so I'm doing my best. But they just started to make deliveries last week after a long wait. And then there was the recall. So the recall was the starter relays. They had some actually a few bikes like catch fire from the starter relay. So what they did was when the bikes came into the USA port, I think in New Jersey, they were actually changing out the relays at the warehouse before they sent bikes out to the dealerships. So that created even more of a wait. Now that brings me to a little bit of a compromise on my color and the options that I wanted, because I initially wanted a trophy, or what they call, you know, they call it trophy. The thing is, they're not really different bikes. It's just, they're all the same bike. They're just different colors, except if you get the green one, you get a lot of billet aluminum parts that they force you into getting. But you can get the trophy, which is blue and red. You can get the black, the triple black. You can get the white, or you can get the Tramontana, which is green, basically. I don't know why they don't just call it green. I guess that's not fancy enough. Anyway, I initially wanted the trophy color, and then I wanted a white one, and now I've settled on a triple black. Because number one, that's what I can get right now. If I want another color, it could be another month wait, and I don't want to wait another month to do this. So I'm getting a triple black. I plan to do a wrap on the bike, so to protect the finish and to give it a unique look. So I think that's going to be cool, and I think the black is a good platform to start from that, because you won't have the color showing through. Some of the options, so it's a fully loaded bike. It comes out to about $28,000. So I've got the forged wheels, I've got the adaptive ride height, I've got the fog lights, I've got the Acropovic pipe, which I didn't want. I don't think it's a good deal at all. They charge you $1,000 for the Acropovic exhaust, and I don't think, we'll talk about that later, but I think that's really a very bad use of money, to put it lightly. Anyway, we'll get to the dealer and I'll show you the bike, but that's kind of the reasons for getting the triple black. Availability, and I just don't want to wait any longer. Plus I think it'll be good when I do that, when I do the vinyl wrap, you know, to have the black, some of the blacked out parts, and it'll just be a little bit easier to do that wrap. Now, would I be buying one of these 1300 GSs if I wasn't a content creator, right? If I was just a normal motorcyclist, or if this was me before YouTube, would I be buying one of these this early? Probably not, just because I'd rather wait for some of the bugs on the first year to get worked out, and I'd rather wait for the aftermarket to develop just a little bit more. It's already coming on pretty strong with aftermarket stuff, but you know, there's a little bit of a lag, especially here in the USA, for some of those parts for the, you know, the companies to get the bikes to develop the parts for that. So probably not. Plus also the price. The price is really, really extreme. My bike is over $30,000 once you add the taxes and things like that in. So anyway, we'll talk about all this more later, and there's going to be a buyer's guide and a pricing discussion. But I just wanted to give you some of this background before we get out to the dealer and take delivery. So I'm just going on a little walk here since I'm about half an hour early. So just stopped at a little hiking trail on my way. Anyway, let's get out to the dealer. Let's go get it. All right, here she is. It's even got my name on it. Look at that. This is my first time seeing the triple black in person, and I'm really happy with it. In person, I know it doesn't come through in the videos, but in person it's pretty nice looking. It's really sharp, really clean, and this will be a great base if we want to do a wrap on the bike. So so my bike's got the off-road tires package, which is the Karoo, oh sorry about that, which is the Karoo 4. I've got the Akrapovic titanium double exhaust, which you can see there, so that's pretty cool. Those foot pegs are tiny. I'm going to have to definitely do something about that and get crash protection for the engine, get a skid plate. I've got some handguards coming that go around this because the turn signals are in here. I've got the electric windshield. I've got the optional fog lights package there, which is kind of nice. You can see I've also got the forged wheels. So the forged wheels are an optional accessory. I really wanted to get these to test. BMW says that they're comparable in strength to their spoked wheels. Now that's a little bit questionable whether that's actually going to be true, but I guess we're going to find out. So that's one of the reasons I wanted it. And I've got the adaptive ride height control too. So this bike has a top case carrier, which I don't need. It just happened to come with that. I've got the comfort seat. Yeah, she's pretty sharp looking. So if you want to see, here's the first time I've seen the trophy version, the trophy color. So you get the red and the blue and the white and stuff. Pretty cool. And you get this white section on the frame. I would have taken one of these two. This is actually Bill Whitaker, his bike. And he's got the Enduro package, Enduro Pro package, which gives you a different skid plate, gives you the engine bars and these little engine slider things here. What it also does is it moves the signals from here to here. So that's interesting. It doesn't come automatically with the trophy like some people think. You have to order the Enduro Pro package, which does not come with the trophy automatically, to get that. He also doesn't have the electric windshield. He doesn't have the adaptive ride height, and this is the sport suspension. So the seat height on this is far, far taller than my bike. Say hi, Rick.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So this is Rick, BMW Motorcycles Riverside. I've been working with them for years. If you want a BMW motorcycle in Southern California, I highly recommend you check them out. They will give you a great, honest, fair deal, and they're awesome to work with. So thank you, Rick. And he's going to show us a little bit about the my new bike.
In the dash here, a lot of the familiar dash and switchgear that you've seen before over the years with your ride modes and the same Eco, Rain, Road, Dynamic, Enduro, Dynamic Pro, Enduro Pro modes. One of the new things here is this button that brings up the multi-rocker switch menu, because this selects what the two-pack. This button activates the power windshield.
That's nice to have. It looks like a lot of wind coverage too.
Yeah,
pretty
like good range of adjustment. And then you'll also notice with the windscreen that there's two bolt hole positions on the front of it. So
oh yeah, you can adjust it. You can lower it or raise it. It has two different mounting points. That's pretty nice. Has finer control of the damping now too. You can go into this and increase or decrease the damping in each mode, which is nice because they didn't have that before. Yep. Heating, yeah.
Active cruise control.
The distance, yeah.
So yeah, so this rocker switch here has that multifunction capability. So you always have to choose it. I've personally found so far I like just leaving it in the windscreen.
That's what I was
that's
thinking.
The one you want to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
People have also gotten kind of upset about the brake lights now and the turn signals. So you guys can see here, but they are really big and bright. I have to say, in person, I think that's better than the brake light because you get it on both sides, and it's really bright this time. Yeah, so turn on the signal. Yeah, so there's a signal. The front signals you can see are in the are in the handguard now, which are really big and bright and noticeable. It's just going to complicate changing the handguard, or if you break this, it's going to complicate that issue. But we're going to be dealing with that. You can see the new way they mounted the handlebars too. It's on like this metal kind of plate, which is supposed to help with vibration or something like that. That's really interesting how they've done that. The new key, it's larger than before, and I assume it has some sort of locking features if you have like the luggage or whatever, or the alarm and stuff.
Central locking.
Right, it does. Okay.
But that only works, of course, if you have the bags on there.
Yeah.
You do have a much bigger storage spot here for a phone. So.
I wonder if this is going to be, because the other BMWs Oh, you know what? And that I have the big phone in a case, and it works. Look at that. They finally made a case big enough.
Right?
They finally did it.
So many of the other motorcycles, it's just a little too small.
It's too
for
small,
the big
and there's a
phones like
plug
that.
in there for the phone too. There's a
Right.
USB
Yeah, there's
port,
a-
which you can't see. But one thing we're looking at is the foot pegs. So what we found, we did some research. The foot pegs from the 850GS and a 1250GS and a 1200GS, they're the same part as on the new 1300. So aftermarket pegs like these rival foot pegs will fit the 1300. So that's really good news. I'm pretty sure. We're like 99% sure, because I'm looking at the factory pegs. Like this is the same one my bike has. Not going to be adequate for off-roading or standing up. They're tiny. So I'm looking at these rival foot pegs. I can also get Black Dog or IMS or Altrider or any of the companies. Honestly, I'll probably do that. But you can see the size difference. I mean, it's almost comical, right? The difference in size that you can upgrade to. Other thing is the brake pedal. I don't like the looks of this brake pedal. Let me show you the one on the Enduro package bike. So here's the foot pegs. If you get the Enduro Pro package, you not only get the engine guards and stuff, and the turn signals move to there, but you get this cool brake lever that does this for off-road, for standing up. So would have been nice to have that, and it would have been nice to have these, although these still aren't big enough for my taste. They're at least better than the road pegs. So anyway, that's some interesting stuff there. So they do give you quite a bit if you get that Enduro Pro package. All right, I have right here the pricing sheet for my particular GS. So let me show you, and I'll put this up on the screen here in a way that you can read it. Let's talk about how much I paid for this GS. Now, I didn't get any sort of special deal. I paid the sticker price plus tax, license, all the normal stuff. BMW dealers, motorcycle dealers here in the USA, at least in my experience, seem to have pretty fair, transparent pricing compared to buying other motorcycles from other brands, which I won't mention. Anyway, so that's how that worked. I don't get any sort of special deal because I'm a YouTuber or an influencer or a journalist or any of that. So the GS, the base price is $18,895. However, good luck finding a 1300 GS under $20,000 unless you special order it. So most bikes are going to come with the premium package. That's just about $4,000. So when you get the premium package, basically it gives you a ton of the popular options all together, right? So it gives you the touring package, the dynamic package, and the innovation pack. All right, so things like your dynamic electronic suspension, your adaptive headlight, your heated grips, what else? The gear shift assistant, which is the quick shifter, the ride modes pro, the sports brake, the riding assistant, which is the adaptive cruise control. All the things you kind of would expect to come on this GS. You have to get the premium package to get that. So almost all the bikes going out to dealers, pretty much all of them at this point, have that. And then my bike has the triple black package, which essentially, so it's confusing how BMW packages these things together, because with that, triple black's basically the color scheme, right? But it comes with more than that. So it gives you the passenger kit, the electric windshield, the center stand, and the comfort rider seat. If you get other color bikes, you might get those options just configured in a different way. So it can be very, very confusing. And it's really important that you really study the option sheets for the GS that you're going to buy to make sure that it has the equipment you want and you're not paying extra for stuff that you don't want. But that's going to be quite difficult. So that was $1,000 for the triple black. Then the forged Enduro wheels are $1,000 option, so that's a pretty expensive option there. But I do think it's probably worth it for the almost 2 kilogram or 5 pound savings in unsprung weight and rotating mass. That really makes the bike handle better. Oh, I shouldn't give that away. I've already ridden it. Yeah, it handles phenomenal. Phenomenal. Probably the best handling street motorcycle that I've ever tested. And I'm not exaggerating about that. Double silencer, that's the Akrapovic double ended, partially titanium exhaust. It's not worth $1,000. There's no way. It doesn't give you any more power. It doesn't give you any more sound. It does look cool, but I would not pay $1,000 for that. I just got stuck with it on this bike. It also makes removing the rear wheel a little bit more difficult because it's larger and more in the way. But anyway, then I've got the adaptive height control. That's $600. So that is the automatic raising and lowering of the suspension when you're coming to a stop. And we'll cover that feature in detail in future episodes. The heated seat, $485. LED auxiliary lights, $475 for fog lights that barely provide any light. They do give you nice conspicuity or visibility during the day to other traffic, but they don't provide much light on the road, so I think that's a very poor value, $500. Off-road tires are only $60, so I've got the Messler Karoo 4s. Top case carrier, that's the thing on the back that allows you to put the BMW top case, and it has a power coupling to give power to the case. That was $275. The bike does include, for no extra charge, BMW Connected Services Intelligent Emergency Call SOS, which is a cellular-based, not satellite-based SOS system that we now get here in the USA, and we'll cover that in episode 3 or 4. They're also including what they call Ultimate Care break-in service for free, or NC, no charge. So that's cool. The first service is on BMW. I do appreciate that when you're spending $28,000. Speaking of the total price, so that brings the net to $27,435. There was a $700 destination fee, which is what BMW is charging to send the bike to the dealers and for the dealers to also prep the bike. My dealer does not charge any sort of setup fee, so that's nice. Total price $28,130, but we're not done yet because I live in California. Here in the USA, so there's tax. There was an $85 document processing fee. Sales tax was $2,186. Another DMV fee, $27. I did pay $795 to get tire and wheel protection because I figured with the forged wheels, I was very concerned about damaging them, so I wanted to have a warranty on the wheels. That brings the total price to $31,223, over 31 grand for a GS. Now keep in mind that includes fees, taxes, DMV, sales tax, and the $800 wheel package. But my word, that is an exorbitantly expensive motorcycle. Wow, that hurts. So I guess we need to dedicate a lot of the series to figuring out, is this motorcycle worth that much money? Now a lot of you are going to say, well, I'm just going to wait a few years and buy a used one. Yeah, that's probably smart, and most people would do that. But I'm in a different position because I want to be one of the first to really test this bike. So I'm willing to go out on a limb and go to debtor's prison to acquire this motorcycle at such a high price. However, I have done a little bit of writing on it, and to give you a sneak peek at that, it's probably worth the money, guys. It's pretty phenomenal. All right, so about this, I wanted to mention episode 2, I believe. I'm planning for it to be a buyer's guide, so I know some of you won't care about it. You can skip it if you want, but if you're in the market for a new GS or you want to understand how it works, we're going to jump on BMW's configuration website together, talk you through some of the options and how you might want to configure your GS, and give you sort of a buyer's guide, because there's a lot of bad information out there right now about the features that it has or doesn't have, and the pricing and how all that works on the different models, because people think the different colors are different models, but they're really just colors. So there's a lot of misleading information, partially because of BMW's confusing marketing, partially because of videos that have been shared out on social media without any context. So episode 2 will be that buyer's guide. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's talk about the weight of the new 1300 GS. So what I've got here are shipping scales. So I use these shipping scales and I put the bike on a hard level surface. I weigh, the bike, so I've got the front wheel on the front scale and the back on the back scale. And then I balance the bike extremely carefully with my hand so I'm not supporting any weight. I do that about 4 or 5 times to verify it. And then I kind of take an average of those and I get my weight. With this bike, it was pretty consistent. And I'll tell you that in a second. Now, I've weighed a lot of motorcycles with this method, and it seems to be pretty accurate, and other people have verified using this method seems to work. So I'm going to go with that because I don't have a scale that's, fits the whole motorcycle. I haven't been able to find anything like that. So here's what BMW says. So BMW says that the 1300 GS is 26 pounds or 12 kilos lighter than the outgoing 1250 GS. Now, a lot of people have kind of said that, they're thinking that BMW has been playing a little bit of games with that and saying that, the weight on the new bike, they're weighing it without a lot of options that everybody would have, like center stands and fog lights and electric windshield and you know, whatever, you know, who knows what, just the little stuff that seems to add pounds here and there that almost every GS is going to have. And they might be comparing that to a 1250 GS with more of the standard equipment like center stand and things like that. So people have suggested that, other people who've weighed it. So here's the results I got. So I got a weight of 536 pounds on my scales, or 243 kilos. Now, my bike does have a lot of extra stuff. You know, it's got the adaptive ride height, it's got the center stand, it's got you know, the sports brake, it's got the top case carrier, a few things like that's got off-road tires. But what it does have that takes off some weight are those forged wheels, which is about 2 kilos, or about 5 pounds, 4.5 to 5 pounds less than the spoke wheels. So you'd have to add that weight back in if you didn't have the forged wheels. So yeah, 536 or 243 kilos. Now that seems reasonable then. If BMW is claiming that it's lighter than a 1250, considering the fact that my bike has all these options and is still coming in about, about 14 pounds less than the 1250 was claimed to be, it seems kind of believable then in terms of the weight. My personal feeling on all this is that I don't know that it really matters that much. I don't think you can really tell the difference between a 500-pound bike and a 520-pound bike, or a 520-pound bike and a 530-pound bike. I don't think you can feel that difference. And what counts more is the balance of the bike and how the weight's distributed and how much luggage you do or don't have strapped to the thing. So there's a lot going on there with the weight. I can tell you one thing. I've ridden the bike just one day, and it feels substantially lighter and more agile than a 1250 on the road and off the road. So I can tell you that. I can also give you the results that I've gotten. So if there's any more information out there about this, please put that down below and let's have a discussion about it. But there's my results in terms of the weight. A couple things I forgot to add in that segment. So the BMW claimed weight, they say it's without OEM accessories or options, which I don't really know what that means. They're quoting that 522 pounds without accessories or options. Also, they're saying that's 90% full of fuel, ready to ride weight. So it includes the coolant, it includes the battery, it includes fluids, things like that. Now my bike, I did the weigh-in with my bike with 80% of fuel. So very, very close to that. So in theory, I mean, the reason that I don't think it matches their claim weight is because there's options on these bikes. And also factoring in is that I have these lighter forged wheels. So it's hard to pin this down exactly, but it does seem credible based on what I just measured that these bikes are lighter. But the only way to really verify this truly would be to somehow get a 1250 GS that had the exact same options, which actually isn't even possible because the bikes just have different options available. It'd be really hard to do that, to verify that. And then you've got things like tires and whatever that change it as well. So again, super, super hard to pin down, but it does seem somewhat credible. I think what we need to do is, if you are out there and you have a 1300 GS, try to weigh it or get it weighed at a scale and report back, and maybe we can eventually get to the bottom of this. A lot of people have said that there's a power assist center stand on the new GS. There's not. If you get the adaptive ride height, the suspension preload motors max out when you go to put the center stand down, but that's different than an electric or hydraulic center stand, which this bike does not have. So, now the preload's maxed out. It just makes it easier to put on the center stand, but you still have to use it as a normal center stand. It's not power assisted. All right, I finally made it outside with the rain finally let up, but it's just above freezing and it's windy, so I don't know how long I can do this. But what do I think of the headlight design? So as a motorcycle journalist, you know, I'm supposed to be impartial to this kind of stuff and let you all figure it out and decide on your own. But I will say this. To me, the design is neither good nor bad. And I think the opinion of something like this is going to change with time, because our opinion about how things look is very subjective to the time period that we're in, right? I'll give you an example. Every time a new GS comes out, everybody says it's ugly, everybody says they hate the new headlight. This has happened multiple times before on previous generations. They say the bike has lost its character, whatever, it's lost its appeal, it's not as tough, blah, blah, blah. To me, I just have to sit back and laugh at all of that, because I see this every time. And then a few years later, everybody's like, oh yeah, you know what? The new GS is really that good. And everybody ends up buying one anyway because it's a better bike and it has 5 or 10 year newer technology, which this bike does. So I do think that given some time, I think people will stop talking about the headlight, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I actually don't really find it an offensive design. It's not my favorite, but has the GS ever been a good looking motorcycle? No. Has it been functional and utilitarian? Yes, and I think it still is. To me, it still looks like the GS that I want it to look like. It still looks kind of funky and cool and tough and characterful, but it's not a beautiful motorcycle. It's not supposed to be, and it never has been. So I just don't think the headlight discussion is really a thing, and I just have to kind of laugh at the whole thing. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about how I'm going to potentially structure the rest of this review series. So if you've seen the series I've done with like the Aprilia Touareg or the Honda Transalp or a lot of other bikes that I purchased for long-term testing, you kind of have a sense of how I do this. This GS is going to be a bit more involved, I think, than some of them. So episode 1 you're watching now, this is, the introduction, picking up the bike, going through some of the stuff we've done today. Episode 2 and 3, and I might kind of swap these, but I'm thinking episode 2 is going to be the buyer's guide, and episode 3 is going to be our first ride on and off road to give you those riding impressions. I might swap those and make episode 2 the first ride and episode 3 the buyer's guide. Let me know what you think. What order do you want that in? I suppose in the long run it doesn't matter, but people are going to be impatient if I publish the buyer's guide before I ride the bike. So anyway, I got to factor all that in. Episodes 4 and 5, we're going to look at a lot of the new technology that they have in this new GS. The radar systems, the blind spot monitoring, the electric windshield, the adaptive suspension, the variable spring rate suspension, which is absolutely phenomenal and the first, I think, on a motorcycle ever. So we're going to go into the technology, talk about, what does that mean for you as a rider? Is it good or bad? It's probably driving some of the cost increase. We'll talk about how it works in the real world. And then episode 5, and again, I might swap 4 and 5, but episode 4 or 5 will be living with the GS. So the seat height, the riding position, the maintenance. So we're going to look at the oil change. We'll document doing the first service at the dealer. I'll show you where the air filters are. They're actually under some panels here, so you don't have to take a lot of stuff apart. They're pretty easy access, although it's a little bit different than the previous GS was. We'll show you how the electronics and the TFT work, kind of using that. So it'll be kind of like, living with the bike. We'll get Maggie on board, show the passenger seating, things like that. How is it to live with it? Somewhere in all this, we'll do the crash protection, which is pending right now. I'm trying to get that stuff in. We'll do a drop test. We'll, of course, do all that stuff that I'm famous for. But I do need to get some crash protection and get this thing toughened up a little bit before we really start to abuse it. Now, of course, there's also going to be an off-road torture test episode, which is going to be pretty awesome, I think, pretty epic. I'm planning something pretty special for you guys on that. There'll be a touring test. There'll be a sport riding test. There'll be a lot more. There'll be accessories, there'll be mods. So there'll probably be about, I'm guessing, around between 8 to 12 episodes on the GS. So if you have any interest in adventure bikes, I think you're going to enjoy this series, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the rest of it. All right, well, thank you for hanging with me for this whole episode 1. I hope you found it informative and useful. Now, I know you want the riding impressions. You want to see me thrash this thing off-road and give it heck on the road and give it the beans. Don't worry, please be patient. I promise it's coming. We just need to get through some of this early stuff first. Plus, the weather's been horrible. It just stopped raining and snowing. So, with that, if you have questions about the new 1300GS, put those below and I'll start compiling those to answer them in a future episode, or I'll just deal with some of the comments directly. Again, I hope you're enjoying this. If you have input into what you want to see in this series or specific things you want me to cover, please put that down below in the comments. If you like the work I'm doing here, this independent motorcycle testing and journalism, if you like that, there's ways to support this channel, and I'll put that in the pinned comment and the description below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for all the future episodes coming up. Please ride safe, and I'll see you out there.
Where are you?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me, sweetie. Okay, now you hold the... Whoa.
I think this little motorcycle like this.
Yeah.
Did not work out.